Okay, these skills are unique to pattern disruptors. Did I say that enough times? These skills are really important to disrupting patterns. Memorize and use these skills. Okay, so let's watch Sue and let's try to identify the skill.
As you talk about the fact that you do in the relationship. So I guess I sort of maybe need to know what fights look like. What happens for you when you get into these very distressing...
Skill. What happens for you? Good. Right off the bat, man. She's just going.
Scenes which end up in you feeling that you're locked into a power struggle and that this is terribly painful, and then usually, as I understand it, somebody will leave, probably you, Prue, you'll leave to calm things down, and then you're very distant for days after that. I guess I'd like to know, what does the fight look like?
It's really not that difficult to understand. We get into a power struggle.
Love it.
And I think we both try to come out ahead in it. I know there's a lot of demands on me. I'm not supposed to move anymore, not supposed to work so late, not supposed to take on a lot of projects. Prue has what she wants, I have what I want, and we struggle for that.
Well, it's more...
So you can, this is not a skill, but you can just hear by his description that this is a distant pattern. Prue gets what she wants, I get what I want. We're basically in a relationship, right, where we're not close, but we're independent. Okay.
Like, you know, if I don't get the last word in on this fight, then I'm one down at the next fight. So my big thing is to, I don't know, just, I don't think Mark understands about this.
You don't think he understands about what?
It's a different kind of skill. He doesn't understand about what. As a pro, but hiding. Because she's doubling back and drawing clarification and emphasis on something. So it's a hiding.
About?
But, well, how difficult it is when he's always working, and how difficult it is for him to, I don't know, it's like that French course, Mark, when the baby was born. That's what's going on. It's like he's not there. It's like his career is more important, and then he comes up with the thing that he has to move, that we have to move, that I have to follow him. I mean, where do I fit into all of this?
You know that there were very good reasons for why I had to take the course when I did.
Yes, you told me that.
If I hadn't have taken it then, the 6-month cycle would have been up and I would have been left behind.
Just a side note, he's threatening the unmet attachment need right now. There's unmet attachment need that he's threatening right now through his logic. Right? What she's looking for him to be responsive and accessible to her pain and her sadness and her fear. She's not expressing it that way. It's just priming defense on his part that's driven by anger. You starting to see the cycle? Right? Anger is driving the defensiveness, and anger is driving the attack.
Not promoted.
Yes, I know, but I know all of that. But that's, I don't know, it's just this moving thing. It's like your career and your work and everything about what you do is more important than what I do.
So it's you sort of end up feeling like you don't count very much, right? That you don't have much control of your life and you don't count very much. What counts is his career.
It is validating. It's interpretation, yeah. Empathic interpretation. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
Oh, that's what you'd love to hear as a therapist.
That's exactly
You know you nailed your empathic interpretation when they say that's exactly it. Then you're like...
I guess I'm also hearing something else, which is that, you know, it's not just about not having control, it's also something about how close the two of you are. It's something about that you don't feel supported by him. You don't feel that he was there
Well,
for
he's
you.
just not there. I mean,
Right.
remember when the baby was colicky all the time? I mean, I did this by myself.
That was also an empathic interpretation.
I mean, we moved and I ended up doing everything by myself and I had no friends and I felt awful and I had nobody to talk to. I mean, really, you just were never around. It was more important to be off on French course and you didn't understand that.
Prue has never really developed her own career, and we were very, very independent people before we got married. And it's very difficult for her to adjust to that.
You were both very independent when you met,
Very different.
and you'd actually only known each other for about 8 months before you got married, right? So, and then you moved to a new city
And we
where you really,
This is skill. The very first one. Reflecting the secondary, right? She's reflecting the secondary content and emotion. She's reflecting the secondary before she can go to the primary. So he's acting defensive, so she reflects the secondary defense. What does he know to be true?
to depend on each other, right? I think what I'm hearing, Prue, is that you felt very alone.
It was also validation. Validate the secondary and then move back to Prue. And now she's transitioning to
In this
feel
relationship.
very alone in this relationship.
I've always been alone in this
Prime emotion, right? Yep.
relationship. I don't even know if there is a relationship.
And you don't feel that he understands that.
Well, I mean, I guess we really haven't talked about it all that much, but one of the reasons we haven't talked about it all that much is because he's so off into doing his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, you know, these decisions are made almost without me.
Okay, so she went with a primary emotion, she dropped in her loneliness, but then she went back up into her anger, right? And so she can be patient with it because you didn't land the plane that time, right? She didn't grab on the loneliness and stay at the loneliness and stay soft, and she went back into the pattern.
Do you think that you could try to help Mark understand right now, right here, what this feeling of being alone in this relationship has been like for you? Because
Boom. What's that?
Restructuring.
It's restructuring and evocative responding. Yes, very good. Can you tell more? An enactment, right, is restructuring and evocative responding, right? And then she's using primary motion. So it's really funny, right? So the client goes up out of the primary motion, back into the secondary motion of anger, goes back into the attack and complain, and then she sits there and she goes, And then she goes, could you tell Mark, she goes, let's just go back to where we were. Right? Could you tell Mark what it's like for you to be in this relationship and to be alone? And so it brings her back down to the primary motion, into the restructuring, and then the evocative responding. Okay?
the sense I get is that you're talking about it quite calmly, but the sense I get is that it's been very, very painful for you in this relationship to feel alone. Do you think that you could help him right now?
And we know what alone threatens of attachment needs? All of them. Loneliness threatens all attachment needs. It's detachment. There's no attachment being met in loneliness.
Understand a little of what that's been like for you?
Here's the softening.
Well, it was like with my father always moving us around.
Awesome, right? So now the softening has pulled her into her own history as an example of why this is so painful for her.
And every time we'd make friends and every time I'd feel settled in
The
the
pattern's being
family,
disrupted right now.
I'd come home and just tell my mother and the kids that we were getting up and going. And it was like we didn't have any choices about it. And it was really hard for us to all pick up and leave, and I'd be in a new city and I wouldn't know anybody. It was just terrible. And that's what it feels like. It feels really like you're doing this to me rather than with me.
Well, like he's taking you off to a new city, right? And you're powerless, there's nothing you can do about it, you have to go, just like when
Do I have a choice? Do I have a choice? Can I say anything about it? I don't have a choice. I mean, I know we have to move.
So there's some anger about the fact that
So then she moves back up into anger. So you can see the battle, right? It's the battle between the secondary and the primary emotion. So she's going to validate the anger.
you don't have, there's no choice presented in that for you. It's right, you have to go.
But
Right?
I really resent it.
Yeah, right. And in the new city, you feel very alone.
Right? She's masterful. So she validates the secondary and then she moves to the primary. And in the new city, you feel very alone. She keeps bringing her back down to the softened position. Because as long as she's up in the hot emotion and she gets back into the pattern will repeat itself again. You can count on clockwork.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, he started the French course right away. I mean, I know he asked me and I said it was okay, but I mean, then he went off and it didn't matter that the baby was colicky. It didn't matter that I was by myself. It didn't matter that I didn't have anybody to talk to. I mean, all these things just didn't matter to him.
Can you help him understand what it felt like to be alone in the house with
She's not saying, tell him what it was like to not matter to him. Tell him what it's like to be alone in the house with a colicky baby. What's the skill? It's restructuring and evocative responding.
colicky baby?
Well, it wasn't very pleasant.
It wasn't very pleasant.
Hiding, yeah, good job.
It was awful. It was a horrible feeling to be alone in the house like that. And you just don't understand. I mean, you don't understand what it's like for me. And then we would get into these fights and I felt like I was even more alone and I just wanted to go off by myself and leave.
Now
And
she's
I
grabbing the
felt like you
lonely
didn't have
language.
anybody, right?
I didn't
Nobody
have
was
anybody.
there for you. You were taking care of the baby and nobody was, it's almost like the sense I get is that you felt like he'd taken you off to this new city where you had no control, no friends, no support, and then he'd sort of deserted you.
What's that skill?
Interpretation.
It's interpretation, right? Yeah. Based upon unmet attachment needs of what if you feel deserted, what attachment is going unmet? All of them, but primarily protection, right? Yeah, you're being abandoned, deserted. Yep.
well, that's exactly the way I felt, that I was totally deserted. I was all by myself. I mean, it would have been better for me to go back and be with my family than to be in the city all by myself. At least there I would have had some support.
Right. And you did do that sometimes. You went back, right?
Yes.
To Ottawa sometimes to be with
Yes.
your family.
Well, it was the only time I felt that, you know, that I was really being cared for.
Right.
I mean, I felt like, I never felt really okay in this relationship. It's just, everything's too fast, Mark. I mean, everything's just been, you know, I feel like I've been whisked away and slumped in a city that I don't know anybody, and you're off at work, and
You never felt really taken care of. That's what you're saying.
no.
Heightening.
Can I ask something though?
Yeah.
He looks very disengaged. Is that a time to try to kind of come back around and engage him in
Yeah,
this? Because he's like gone.
Let's see what she does.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never felt taken care of.
Right.
Every class I've ever shown this to has always gotten comfortable with how quiet Mark was. For as long as it was like, Sue, what are you doing? You're leaving Mark there. Like, get Mark involved.
Wasn't she trying to just soften?
She's
She's
trying to
softening the blamer before
Right.
she can
engage with the drawer, right? So she's softening the blamer. So she's staying working with the blamer long enough to soften the blamer. But the drawer's not gonna come back out until the blamer softens, and usually the blamer's not gonna soften until the drawer comes back out. She's actually doing this out of order a little bit. Usually you're supposed to